Hello, everyone. This is Dante Suave, United World of Sports, and my usual co-host, Mr. J, had some family obligations, so he is not here. So I have a special guest, a friend of mine with the band Zero Hour, my friend Andrew.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
So, yeah, because we had always been talking about it while I was in school that
Oh,
I
yeah.
was going to do a podcast and you wanted to be on it. So, yes, thank
Absolutely.
you for coming through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so let's get to it.
Absolutely.
We will start off with the Bengals potential trade of Trey Hendrickson. Just when you
Yeah.
thought that they're potentially gonna keep everybody,
Yeah.
now it's like uh, Joe hasn't restructured his contract like he said he was open to doing.
Yep.
Oh, and Trey, even though the organization has said that they're open to trying to keep everybody that Joe once kept,
Sure.
is still having him on the trading block.
Yeah.
On top of another conversation that we're going to have about the Bengals, about the stadium, we will have that conversation
God bless the
next.
stadium.
But what's your feelings on him getting traded? I personally don't like it because with knowing the knowledge of why Sam Hubbard didn't really show up that much last year and knowing what he had to go through putting his all in, that's why I don't like it. But and while I get that it's a business, I get that there's got to be. It's like I always say, it takes two. You
Yeah.
can't just look at the people with the money and like it's funny because they say what the actual team is actually worth. Yeah, the actual team might be worth billions, but their salary cap is 200 and something million.
Right.
And they got to not only keep the good people, they also got to keep the other 53 on the roster.
Right,
So you can't just go, "Oh, this person wants to stay and this person wants to bag." And I know people are going to get tired of me going into this shtick, but this is real.
It is.
The players that stay the most are the ones that look up, and between them and the owner, they go, "Okay, this is how much money we got for you," and they go, "I want to stay," and they take it.
Right.
You can't name me a team that every time everybody's contract came up, they went, "I want the bag," and they went, "Okay, done." No, you can't name one in history, and you can't even count the LA Rams because they did it between contracts and giving up draft picks
Yeah.
for like years.
Yeah. So you run into the problem where you get really good player for a short amount of time, or you get a bunch of players for 2 years, and you go all in and you try to make it work. Look at the 49ers last 3-4 years. Traded a bunch of capital to go get Christian McCaffrey, favorite to win the Super Bowl for 2 years, and now all the bills are coming due.
Yeah.
And
All the
they're
bills are
losing
coming
pieces and
due.
stuff
They
like that.
stayed hurt during
Yep.
their Super Bowl
Yep.
Super Bowl team window, so it didn't work out.
Right.
And now you're coming up and you got to go. Yeah, looking at how everything played out, dude, we can't keep y'all
Yeah.
according to everything that happened. We don't know if you're not gonna stay healthy. We can't give you another big
Yeah.
contract.
I mean, Trey Anderson's a great player. I mean, 27 and a half sacks last year, something like that. Crazy number. He's a really good pass rusher, but he is also 31 years old. He's getting into the back end of his career, and that's where those injuries start coming up. And if there is a trade partner out there right now, it's the Panthers, and they're willing to trade us the number 8 pick to get a 31-year-old defensive edge rusher. I mean, that's so hard to pass up. To get, a number 8 pick, you can get a generational type talent at a number 8 pick in the first round. I mean, that's just it's almost a no-brainer. I don't know what else the Panthers need to do to sweeten that deal, but as soon as that was on the table, I'm sending over paperwork. So, it's thanks a lot, Trey. I appreciate all the hard work you did here. You did a wonderful job, and we'll put you in the Ring of Honor when it's all said and done. But you're a Panther now.
When you sit up here and you're in a situation, I get where people are coming from. You sit up here and you get in a situation where the people that are left here are not as good as the person you let go of. I get the premise. At least they don't play up to it.
Sure. I mean, the guy behind Trey Hendricks is not Trey Hendricks. There's a reason he's the backup.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously their scouting leaves much to be desired. And
sometimes
it's
sometimes they get it right.
Well,
usually they don't keep those people. So
well, you have a select few that are right. But in terms of the next man up, the team doesn't have the next man up attitude. So then they seem to be forced to next draft. Who's in free agency?
Yeah.
Somebody other than the person that you were paying to pay attention to everything, and just in case something went wrong, be the next man up. I feel the teams that have the best success have a lot more of those guys than other teams.
Sure.
Kansas City is the most recent example. I know people are tired of hearing about the Patriots and the 20 years. It was what it was.
They were really good, man.
It was what it was.
I like them, but they were really good.
They didn't pay a lot of people. You can bring up Spygate. Please don't bring up the witch hunt that saved Goodell's job. That was Deflategate. I could go into that, but we're not. But we're gonna focus. We're gonna focus.
Yeah.
I'm gonna eventually one day I'm gonna go into the rumors surrounding the backlog of that. But like I said, we're not doing that today.
Sure.
I would like to see him stay, but like I said, it takes two. He's got to be willing. They got to be willing to be on the same page with the number. And if they're not willing to stay on the same page with the number, the Bengals know that if they keep him, how are they going to fill the other holes? That was a whole thing that came up when all these guys were, because at the time that Jesse Bates, the safety that everybody wanted them to keep, they hadn't even paid Joe yet. And they knew they had to pay Joe. They knew they were going to have to pay Higgins, and they knew they were going to have to pay Chase, and they had paid nobody. But I do ask this question: there was an offer. I get maybe the wordings of it wasn't to Chase's liking, but I don't like people's amnesia of the fact that Chase did get offered a contract last year, and it was numbers wise, it was the same as Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
But because they structured it out, it wasn't the same per year. And that's why Chase didn't accept it. But my question is this: if they could have played around with that somehow, maybe shortened it a year, like, hey, what if we shorten this to 2026? Mm-hmm. Can you work with that? Then they probably could have came up with something. If he says yes, they probably could have came up with something for Higgins last year. Mm-hmm. And then the only person they would have had to worry about was Henderson. And then, but again, it takes two. Sure. And if the one side says, well, no, you can't completely blame the one side because they were supposed to work together and they didn't.
Yeah, I blame the organization as far as the lack of foresight that they had, especially on players like Jesse Bates. And knowing that your offense, as good as it was, as soon as Joe Burrow went down and he was injured, that's when you should have gotten that next season. You should have gotten both your wide receivers taken care of, because when Joe Burrow comes back, he's gonna want firepower, and you're gonna have this offensive juggernaut moving forward. And while, okay, fine, if you lock up your two wide receivers, and let's say Joe Burrow comes back and he is 50% of what he was, okay, that's fine. He's out, and you find a new young quarterback coming in, and you have a ready-built offensive force.
Which to me, Browning wasn't bad. He just needed to learn how to see the zone.
Yeah. So Jake Browning's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. Jake Browning is a great backup, and he's gonna keep you competitive in games and win you a few of the games that you're gonna be in. But he's not the long-term solution. he was great for that season, and I am super happy with how well he did, and he proved himself exactly what he's supposed to be, a great backup quarterback. He knows the offense. The offense was confident in his abilities, but you can definitely tell like he's not a starting.
He had some growing that he definitely needed to do, because two of the biggest games he lost, the first game he lost against Pittsburgh, he couldn't handle the zone.
Exactly.
And it's like, I know you play with the backups. I know you. It's like, but they're and that's where I say like when you're picking people up, when you're talking to them, are you making sure that they understand what you want, and that they're bringing to the table what you want, as well as you bringing to the table what they want. Yeah. It's like you got to set that standard. The teams that win the most, at the end of the day, they set the standard. For all the talk of, well, you got to learn how to talk to the brothers, the coach, them, especially them white coaches, they got to learn how to talk to the brothers. And for all that talk, you talk to the teams that have the winning pedigree, and they go, no. Even Andy Reid, they go, yeah, if you ain't acting right, he's the nicest person in the world, but don't do that.
Well, they're talking football. It's not, they're professionals. So like when you're at the end of the day, you're going to talk football. When you're in the building, you talk football, you figure it out, X's and O's, and outside of that, if you're friends, great, but it's not really necessary to be a winning football team. I mean,
because like I tell people, So wait, let me get this straight. The guy that gets paid less than you're not holding up your end of the bargain.
Right.
And he's just always supposed to be Gandhi when he comes to you. So, hi, how's it going? Look,
we're ego, right?
we're having some issues here. You're just not, it's not, we know how talented you are. It's just, for some odd reasons, it's not showing on the field. What do I need to do for you to make it show on the field? Meanwhile, the guys that stay in the Super Bowl, coach don't care nothing about your attitude. And they stay in the playoffs consistently, and in the conference championships. And then you talk to those players, and they're like, "Oh yeah, coach don't play.
They don't care.
No." It's like, but wait, I thought this was a new era, and we were supposed to be, you got to care about everyone's feelings, and you got to, like you said, you got to stroke the ego, and it's like, no.
There's only two egos you need to stroke, and that is the loudest player and your best player. After that, the rest of them will fall in line.
And really, to me, I wouldn't even do those. I would do it to a point, but they would always know, like, hey, at the end of the day, like, perfect example, I used to laugh at Tom Brady in the preseason. That's like, and that's another reason why I miss preseason games, because he put him in for one or two series, and then the rest of the game, you're Belichick. You're looking at the check, and you're looking at the field, and you're looking down, and you got Tom like staring a hole through the side of your head, like I want to go back in, and he's just checklist.
Go sit down.
It's like, I want back in.
Man.
I want back in.
Yeah.
I need reps. I need to make sure that everything is.
I mean, that's the thing is Bill Belichick got real lucky with the greatest backup quarterback ever.
Right. He got lucky because Tom was competitive enough.
Amazing. And he's a smart guy, really great player.
Competitive with a smidge of crybaby. A smidge of appearance of a crybaby
as he got on his career,
because he like, look, I can't perform well if you guys aren't protecting me. So he would get frustrated, and people liked seeing that because that's his kryptonite. We got to touch him, even if all we do is just slap him on the shoulder. He's gonna get agitated, and he's gonna do that thing. But it was his competitive drive that made him the best. And then it was the people not giving him his overall respect because of Spygate and Deflategate that made him go, oh, okay, well, I'll retire when I feel like it. And probably some at-home stuff at the end.
I think he held on for 1 year too long. I don't think it hurt him in the GOAT conversation or anything like that. But I think a lot of the people that don't like Tom Brady go, oh, look, he had a terrible year. His last year proved people right. Like, no, not really. Like it proved he was 42 years old playing a game with a bunch of 20-year-olds.
and his wife held up her end of the bargain, and I'm sure he found out some details that he probably didn't like. And like Tiger, remember what happened to Tiger? Like, oh, whack, whack, whack. Oh, I got caught cheating. I have my kids. All of a sudden, he didn't look the same. It's like, oh, wait. It's like, I mean, yeah, you want to see Tiger as Tiger, but bro, you were nothing like what you were.
Oh, I think his was all physical, and it all fell down around him at the same time because it just was too much to hold up.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods is a totally different level than Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the best quarterback you're ever going to see.
I'm just saying, in
Tiger Woods was carrying not only an entire sport
right
on his own around the world, he was carrying also all the hopes of American golf in those international competitions and everything like that. Tom Brady just carried the NFL because that's who everybody looked to because he played really well.
But the one thing that rang true was when they had those life issues with their partners.
Sure.
That because he didn't look that bad the year before. You saw it a little bit.
Yeah,
you saw it a little bit. There was a few times where he pulled a Peyton Manning with the Broncos and he short armed him, but it wasn't as bad as that last year.
Yeah,
that last year
was rough in Tampa.
That last year in Tampa was like super rough, and that was after she hit him with the divorce, and then I'm sure that we didn't know all the details until the roast. Oh my God!
That roast is great.
But
right. He also had that bankruptcy and that crypto thing.
Right. Life was life and life.
Got him good.
But and that's what I'm saying. That's what they have in common. Obviously, there was differences, but with that, let's move on to the real quickly to the statement made by Miss Blackburn that has had everybody for the last week very, very pissed. So, okay.
And I like Katie Blackburn. I think she is a breath of fresh air in that building, but yeah.
Yeah. There was rumors I was told like way back when, because I knew a guy that taught like inner city kiddie football, and he apparently he was really, because of his standings as a local city coach, he knew people in the organization.
Okay.
But way back when Marvin got hired, he said that the son and the daughter, I don't know if Katie either one of those.
Katie's Mike Brown's daughter.
Okay, yeah. Apparently her and the brother were instrumental in getting Marvin hired.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Because that was back when they were questioning and they were kind of throwing that out there. And I know people don't like when race comes up, but it's
when did he get hired? 2000.
It's gonna come up when people feel like there's like an unfair, anything unfair biasly going on, whether if it's man versus woman or a certain racial barrier, it's gonna come up. It's not just gonna come up because the media has nothing else better to talk about, but it's going to come up. Well, okay.
It does sometimes. So when they'll make that a bigger story than it needs to be. Sometimes.
And the reason why they do it at the end of the day, because they're sitting there in their office, and what are they doing? Just like every other business. Hey, what's the latest thing that can keep money in my pocket?
I gotta get clicks, man.
And keep me taking care of my family and keep the money going. And if you're out there and you're talking about these things, let's take some ownership, people. Because that's the whole reason why they're doing it. They know somebody out there there's
going to be a section that can
this is what's going to get it, because these people out here, they're complaining about this. So if we make this our front page story, there's that bonus.
And back in 2000, Marvin Harris was hired in 99, 2000, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
like it was a more prevalent.
because
I mean,
because
how
people
many-
were
how
complaining
many
that
black
there
coaches
wasn't
were in the NFL.
right. And that's
2,
what I'm saying.
3,
and that's what I'm saying.
and how many were qualified?
It's like where are the coaches?
Like,
Where are the coaches? How come they can't be owners? Why are you guys not letting them be owners? Why are you not letting them be partial owner? Which they were.
Cost billions of dollars to own a football team.
That's right. That's part of it. That's
Of
part
all
of
the
it.
people in the world that can purchase a football team, like
Right.
the number is quite few.
Right. So and then of course,
But-
you know, if some former players try and then they get turned down, that's another like well, you would have taken
Like-
it if he were white.
Look
And
at-
it's like
Well, I mean, like if you see, there's some former players that are great coaches, and there's some that aren't ready to be head coaches yet, and then there's some that should never be head coaches. Like
I think
Antonio
some of-
Pierce is a perfect example.
I think some of them end up in the wrong place at the wrong time because
Yep.
like perfect example. 2 examples actually. Bill Parcells and Mike Singletary.
Mike Singletary, I love Mike Singletary, but
Mike-
he is
Mike-
not ready to be a head coach, man.
Hold on. No. So now here's why I say this. Here's why I say this.
Okay.
So you remember he was coaching Philly, and you remember, I mean, not Philly, in San Francisco.
Yeah.
You remember how that went.
I do.
Harbaugh comes in.
Yep.
Does it differently, but he's just as hard nosed as Mike.
Yeah.
Does it a little differently. First thing Vernon Davis does. Oh man, I think we made a mistake with Mike Singletary.
Yeah.
Oh, well, too late now. He got fired, bro. And
Right.
Marion Barber did the same thing with Bill Parcells.
Yeah.
When that whole thing happened and Bill Parcells ended up leaving, and matter of fact, Marion was the first
think
one
he
that did
was.
it first. He
Yeah.
did it first, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, it's too late now. You guys got what you wanted. You guys got T.O., and you're not going to see a Super Bowl.
Ever. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
You picked the guy that had been in the 3 or 4 Super Bowls. You got him out the door. For the guy that had been the one, even though he had the talent to be the more, but because of his ego outweighing his talent. And he is talented.
He's very talented.
His ego outweighed his talent and got had a bunch of distractions going on everywhere he went, except with the Bengals and with the Bills, which he should have been with the Patriots. But Bill Belichick had a rule, and it was, we got a 0 tolerance policy, and he chose to go to the Buffalo Bills for a 1 year, I believe it was $7 million contract.
Yeah,
And you could have been over with the Patriots when they had Aaron Hernandez before they found out his gangster, and Gronk, a young Gronk, and who else was it? Was it Welker and Randy
Yeah,
Uh,
Danny Amendola out there.
and Danny Amendola? But he had injury
Wes
issues
Welker.
that he couldn't get over, and,
'Cause they had all three of them.
you could have had Randy and T.O. on both sides. You think you're mad because the Patriots was winning Super Bowls then, and I think that was during the time that they played the Giants. I don't think the Giants would have won either one of those.
I think
because-
T.O. would have sat out because he would have been a decoy. I think he would have had half the catches that he got targeted in Buffalo. He would have sat out and half the year, and because Randy Moss was their guy.
Randy Moss was their guy, but if you remember, anybody that Tom got confidence in, especially throwing the ball deep, because people were always messing with him about he couldn't throw the ball deep. Having T.O. on the other side,
I'm just saying.
and
yeah.
T.O. picked up because T.O., like I said, he had talent. He's not Chad. You can't go,
No.
hey, you act right, and then for some odd reason the talent in Chad just disappeared. I'm sorry, that's what happened. That's not hate.
Age.
I'm saying I'm saying what I'm saying what actually happened.
Yeah.
Chad, clearly a talented dude, but he admitted. He said him acting different, like he couldn't explain what changed, but he knew he couldn't be the Chad that was in with the Bengals. That ironically, Marvin not being able to get through to him on that is the only reason. As soon as he told them he told the front office at the end of the 2010 year, I'm only staying if I get more control of the team back. And as soon as they gave it to him, what was the first thing he did? He never wanted T.O. in the first place. So
Yeah.
T.O. was gone. And since he couldn't get through to Chad, I'm sorry, baby, you gotta go.
Yeah.
And they did some talking. They said, hey, Bill, you do something with Chad. Go ahead, send him over.
Yeah.
And he got him to calm down. But when he got him to calm down, it was like he took all the mojo from Chad, because Chad was missing catches that in Cincinnati that you saw him catch.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? All that extracurricular. You a talented dude. You should have a Super Bowl. Let's focus on that. And just from that, all of a sudden, all that talent disappears. You can say age, but I'm sorry, I
feel like to him real quick, because he went from being able to be a kid in Cincinnati, because you're able to. What were his responsibilities in Cincinnati? He was the man. He didn't have
and
these
Palmer helped him
crazy expectations of being the number one wide receiver guy. He could be whoever he wanted to be. Where you go to New England, you're who I tell you to be. Bill Belichick tells you who you're going to an
extent,
be, what you're going to run,
extent,
what you're going to do, and this is as good as you're going to be, because I'm not going to let you get any bigger. Because once you get bigger, that's when you want more money. Once you have the ability to have, all of these stats, and you go, hey, well, I have all these stats, and I've done all this stuff for you. I want more money. He's going to say, okay, well, I don't need you, because this guy over here that used to be a garbage man, I'm going to put him in your position, and he's going to get me the exact same thing,
right,
for less money.
Here's the thing I think he mostly cared about, and I think this is partially what hurt him. Wes Welker was a jokester.
Yeah.
Gronk was a jokester. They weren't. He felt like
those guys were.
He felt like if they were allowed to be themselves, that they weren't gonna be as focused on the way he was on the seriousness of the game, going out there winning every game, fundamentally being on task. And if he felt, and because of that, he kind of ruled with an iron fist.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I want you to be serious about this. I want you to be as serious as I am. And everybody was like, well, no, I'm serious about it, but I want to have fun too. And they're like, no, I don't want people that want to have fun, because a lot of people that have fun, they're sitting at home when come time to raise a trophy. I'm not trying to be at home when it's come time to raise a trophy.
Right.
I want to be in the playoffs, having people in fear of me, and because they know 9 times out of 10 they're not going to beat me.
Yeah.
And getting another trophy. But
you never heard of any antics out of New England during the season. You never heard of any, like, you hear stories now, like you hear those, like, and they'll be like, oh, we played this practical joke or that practical joke when I was doing, and you hear like a couple of stories from a couple of guys.
Yeah, but it's nothing like serious,
nothing crazy.
Though.
But like Bill Belichick let Gronk be Gronk, because he knew that if he didn't, Gronk wasn't going to be his best.
Well, not completely. And a lot of he caught a lot of backlash from that same thing with Welker. And the media, like you said, the media would try to. So, how do you feel about Bill not being totally happy about your laid back attitude?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, well, Bill's Bill, and
Bill's Bill.
I respect how he feels, exactly. And that's just the way he feels. And next question.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's just the way Bill is. Yeah.
It's like, dang it. It's like same thing with Gronk. Gronk was like, I understand where Bill's coming from, but dude, I gotta have my fun. I gotta have some fun. Now, the amount of injuries that he had showed where Bill was right.
Some of those were freak injuries. Like his elbow was a freak injury.
Yeah, the elbow was a freak injury, but there was some
a couple tweaks that he had.
There were some tweaks that he had because he was doing a little extra partying, and that was the part that Bill was worried about.
Yeah.
And because where could he have been if he hadn't? If he had kind of been more reined in like Bill wanted, and he didn't party as much, where could he be?
I mean, he's already what, top 3?
Travis Kelce would have still been trying to catch his numbers.
I think he'd be considered number 3 greatest tight end ever right now. I think that's what they consider people. I put him 1 because I like him. I like his clutch ability every game.
no matter what year it was.
Yeah.
You get inside a certain, you can know it's coming to him.
They
still
got
can't
to the
stop.
point where they started doing the hacker grunk and and
We're just
and
gonna tackle you in the end zone.
holding Gronk, and then the refs just weren't,
thing.
and then the refs just weren't calling it,
Yeah,
and it's like,
he would still catch it.
bro,
If he missed it, if he didn't catch it, they'd throw it. But if he
no,
caught
no,
it,
no,
they'd
no,
be
no.
like, yeah, whatever.
like toward the end there,
Yeah.
there was a lot of games where it was like he's looking up like, dude, what the
Yeah.
hell? So like he literally, the ball was in the air, they tackled me to the ground, and you guys aren't calling it.
You know,
What are we doing?
I almost wonder if it's because of he might have slept with some refs' daughters. Like I just wonder. Like is that what happens? Like,
Well,
you remember Cabo 2015?
It got to the
I'm
point
gonna
to
tell you, he
where
doesn't remember.
where the refs do get to the point to where you keep pushing a narrative, they will get to the point where it's like, okay, we're tired of them sitting up here talking about we're giving them every call. So then they whistle starts, like
Eventually, maybe, but
yeah. Like I said, it was toward the end.
maybe. Yeah, it takes years, though.
like toward the end, like they did him better the year that he came back with the Buccaneers. They
Than his
did
last
him
year.
way better than them last years that he was in New England.
That last year in New England was rough for him. Yeah, that's why he
But-
retired. I don't blame him for retiring.
Yeah, because it's like, wait, I'm sitting up here, I'm starting to suffer a lot of injuries,
Yeah.
and y'all not calling calls that y'all should be calling.
Those refs had the
Like,
over
it's
under.
just not right. It's just not worth it.
It's not worth it. I'm getting,
So-
getting beat up.
So, but back to the Katie thing.
Yeah.
So
what was her actual quote?
okay.
But
La, 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 la,
'cause I
la.
forget. Like I get the gist of what she said, but I didn't.
Oh, you know what?
Didn't actually get the.
This
quote
guy
itself.
actually said it. This guy, let me see if I can get it to play again. This guy down here actually said it.
Yeah, it's like I like Katie Blackburn. I think she does a great job for the Bengals as far as a softer face and somebody that like fans can go, oh, she's doing something different than her dad did, and keep her dad the villain, and
Comments said by Katie Blackburn last week.
and she can be the hero that saves the city's sports from mediocrity. Her and her husband, and they're both really, really smart people, and they both do a really great job. I wish they would just, give Duke Tobin the actual general manager position, as opposed to whatever, nebulous job he has in the front office. But yeah, that's
Why are you gonna do that? Sorry, I clicked on a Reddit instead of clicking on something that actually would have told me what she said.
okay.
She had choice words, blah, 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 blah. We could, okay. No, not those comments. The comments about Trey Hendrickson. Okay, let me rephrase. What comments did Katie Blackburn say regarding Trey Hendrickson? Oh, wait a
I
minute.
think she'd be happy at certain rates that maybe he doesn't think he'd be happy at. I think some of it is on him to be happy at some point, and if he's not, that's what holds it up sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if he overvalues himself at, let's say he thinks he's worth $25 million a year, and Bengals just aren't there. You can't blame your employer for not wanting to pay you what you feel you're worth.
And he, but people do it all the time.
I understand.
And people do it. People do it. Fans do it all the time
Yeah.
because it's
They like him.
It's what made it where he left.
Yeah.
So but this is what I was talking about earlier. You have to get to a point where you have to draw a line and make sure that you're doing everything that's good for the team, not just certain things that are good for a team.
Right.
Because if you do more certain things that are good for a team, but it makes it where you can't cover as much of everything as you can, then you still came up short.
Sure.
especially if they don't go to the playoffs this year, or they do go to the playoffs and they do another one and done. Then it's going to be you paid Higgins, you paid Chase, you paid Hendrickson,
Right.
but you didn't address the other things because you couldn't afford to, because you paid those three.
If you walk into an owner's office right now and you say, I'll give you Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase for the next 5 years, or I'll give you Trey Hendrickson, another elite edge rusher, and a lockdown corner for 5 years, which one is that owner going to take? Regardless of the money. Like, don't think about the money. Think about in the long term.
Yeah, but that's going to be part of the reason why they
what
think about it.
are you going to take? Because I'm going to tell you that owner is going to take the offensive firepower, because that is what sells tickets. This league is about making money, and what makes money is eyeballs, and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins put eyeballs on the team.
And I get that. But the teams that go to the Super Bowls, they figure out a way, and that's partially on the side of the other players.
Sure.
They figure out a way to cover it all.
Sure.
Like look at the Rams. Like we were talking about with the Rams. The Rams, they gave it all and they got a Super Bowl.
Sure.
Granted, they got it over the Bengals because of a infamous Bengals mystique drop pass by Tyler Boyd.
It's amazing.
But which is funny, because it's like when I'm doing my job,
yeah,
and I talk to a Bengal and they go, man, those refs screwed us. I said, so you mean the same refs that gave you guys the touchdown that you actually committed offensive pass interference for? You mean those refs?
Sometimes.
And they went, yeah. It's like a dad confront his kid about something he did wrong. It's like, do you mean blah 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 blah? Yeah. It's like I'm just saying. I get that you want to blame the refs, but there's other details of the game that you might have missed. That's all I'm saying.
Look at like this year, right? Like this last Super Bowl winner, the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
They had a amazing offense. They paid Saquon Barkley to show up, and he did.
Yeah.
And they have an offense they're going to have to pay. But they also have a young defense that decided to play well beyond its means. Their rookies played way better than they were expecting, and that's helps
standard.
You get over there.
That's where I say,
so
where's
hard,
the standard set?
Sure.
Because we know when Marvin first came in. A matter of fact, I haven't been a actual Bengals fan since I lost a bet to my step grandfather. No, my grandfather used to have a thing about me calling the other guy my grandfather, and I'm talking to him. I'm like, yeah, Grandpa Robert. He's like, who? I'm like, Grandpa Robert. Who? Robert? Oh yeah, that guy.
I know that guy.
It's like, so yeah, so me and him had a bet when I was living in Flint. I was in a foster home. He knew more about football than I did. I was only 12.
Sure.
I was mostly a fan of the Bengals because I'm originally from Cincinnati, but I was living in Flint. And me and him were talking on the phone. He's like, all right, we're going to make a bet. I bet that San Francisco 49ers go beat the Cincinnati Bengals. They done already beat them once. I'm like, that may be, but they're Cincinnati Bengals. It's my hometown. They going to win. And they lost. And I'm like, you know what? Again, I was 12. But again,
which year? Because they lost to them twice.
Right. That was the last time.
Oh, 88.
Yeah. Like I said, my grandfather said that because I was up in Flint in like 1990.
Okay.
And 1990, around there. So he's like, yeah, but they already lost to them once. I'm like, yeah, but they ain't losing to them this year. That's my hometown team, and they gonna win again. I was 12.
Yeah,
I was about 11 or 12, something like that. They lost, and I turned my back on
by much.
Yeah, but you made the same mistake that you made in the first Super Bowl. So,
I mean, they didn't. Tim Cromwell only broke his leg once.
True, but Jonathan Taylor was a problem twice.
No. I think it was Joe Montana was the problem.
Well, yeah, him too. But
And Joe Walsh, who ironically left Cincinnati because he was fired because they didn't like his offense. They did not like Joe Walsh's offense.
and they also could have had Jerry Rice, but they didn't think he was gonna be that good.
Well, I mean, where did Jerry Rice go to college?
I get
You
it.
tell me-
I get it.
You tell me a Division II school in the 1980s that was going to be
Yeah, but
producing Jerry Rice.
doesn't
Come on
that doesn't that also show that scouting is important?
I mean, maybe, but like, think about how many scouts get it wrong from big schools and how many scouts get it right from small schools. They're both equal. The percentages are both there. So I mean, like, how many times has a small school
That's a good
player,
potential podcast show to do
you know,
as much research as we possibly can,
I mean, just
and give it some
recently-
time to talk about.
I mean, just recently, your small school, like just small school quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
So your really small Division II FCS school quarterbacks, right? Your last two, Josh Allen and Trey Lance, right? One is
Wait,
a
wait,
high
wait.
caliber
Wait,
player.
you forgot one.
Who's that?
Purdy.
He was an FCS, was he? I thought he went to Iowa State. I thought Brock Purdy went to Iowa State.
Brock Purdy.
He might have, yeah, because Trey Lance went to North Dakota State, and then, Josh Allen was in Wyoming. I thought Brock Purdy was at Iowa State.
Let's see. What school? What college did Brock Purdy get drafted from? Yeah, what? You're right. Iowa State.
So, but yeah, like, so yeah, that predictor. But again, you look at Josh Allen in Wyoming, and you go, how did you miss this in D1 football? And you know, would he have survived at D1 football? Would he have turned into the same player at D1 football? I don't know.
Depending on
He
what-
might not
what-
have made it. He might have had Tim Tebow, you know, a kind of crazy, amazing talent in college that isn't able to be developed into an NFL player. You know, just because that's not a style of play somebody's willing to bank $1 billion franchise on, changing the entire landscape to fit a player who, let's be honest, Tim Tebow, while amazing college player and amazingly athletic, you're not telling me that he was the best passer.
No.
You're not telling me that he was the
Everybody
best
knew that. That's
runner.
why they were. That's,
He played he took advantage of what they gave him with the players around him who were top echelon players.
Those coaches were able to
Yeah.
pull out his best attributes
Yeah.
and make it show on the field.
And Florida helped.
Which
I mean, Urban Meyer
which
does that for you,
schools,
man.
which the league is kind of getting away from that, and you have to be mostly prepared and ready to go. Everybody is not going to get lucky enough like Brock Purdy and end up with a coach that can pull out the best in. Because to be honest, is he that great? It's clearly been shown with all the injuries that the 49ers suffered that you asking him in that situation to
Brock
pull out
Purdy's
the best.
an answer. I don't know if he's always the answer, but he can be an answer for you.
Right.
But you have to put him in the right equation. You
Right.
can't build your team around him and go, hey, Brock, you're now going, you know, we added all of we know where your skills are, and we put the best players to match your skills. You're going to have too many holes.
But he also got himself in trouble.
So,
He got himself in trouble because he pulled himself into the Brady curse. And I knew at the beginning of the season where he
Brady
said
curse.
where he said he was going to pay attention to, he was going to try to be more like Brady. I'm like, no,
don't be more like Brady.
no.
There's only one of those guys.
You're bringing yourself into the curse. Don't do it. And
Yeah.
he did it anyway.
He did.
And then it showed on the field, especially when the injury started happening.
Mm-hmm.
His ability to play the way he was playing. Yes. Did it need some tweaking? Did it need some improvement?
Sure.
Yes. And had he just stayed on that premise of I need to be better than I was last year, I feel like he may have actually improved better. There are certain people that you can't be here and go, yeah, I'm going to go here. Now, you know,
It's a good goal.
if you're here and you want to go here, Okay, yeah,
Doable.
yeah. We can make that the next step
Sure,
and work your way up to there.
sure.
But no, you can't. You can't be like around in this range and go. You know what? I'm about at a C, almost D plus level, and I want to be A plus.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
dude, that's a huge jump.
Now when he took over for Trey Lance, what was it, game 2 or game 3?
Mhm.
Because Trey Lance got hurt.
Mhm.
I would say he was a C plus to a B quarterback.
Okay,
I think by the end of that season, he was a B plus to an A quarterback.
right.
He did that. His first season that he took over was amazing. He did a great job, and coming into the next year, there was zero reason to believe that he would start anywhere below that B average.
And then people
You know,
started
he
getting
regressed a little
hurt,
bit, but then
and
you get tape on you. And people know,
That too.
they see a tendency. They see this, they see that. Oh, you really like this hot read. You really like this deep route. And they play that.
and
they
he
go,
focused on
beat us
trying to
some other way.
be more of a scrambler. I'm like, dude,
And-
you're trying to add too much stuff going
Yeah.
on. You want to be like Brady, and you want to scramble, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Let's slow
If
it
you look at
down.
pure pocket passers, like Joe Burrow to me is a pure pocket passer.
Yeah.
Can he scramble? Sure. If he sees a way out, he's going to take it. He's not going to just take a
That's
sack.
the best quarterback.
But if he drops back and everything's covered and there is no way out, he's just going to fall on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? It's first down. I have second down and third down. And judging by the way how much he is trusted in that offense, he also gets fourth down more times than not. If you're fourth and manageable, Joe Burrow is going to go out and they're going to trust that he's going to get that ball.
Yeah.
He's going to get that first down.
Yeah.
And
And
it's great.
but and I'm gonna end up talking about this really getting into depth because I'm tired of people when they're talking about certain scrambling quarterbacks, they're dismissing others.
So who's the best now? Who's your all time best scrambling quarterback?
Super Bowl's not included.
Just your who you think is the best regard like.
Right
doesn't
now,
matter. The
it's
record
Patrick.
Doesn't matter.
Right now, it's Patrick. Even though athletically Lamar is better,
What about all time though?
all
Is
time.
Patrick better than like Randall Cunningham and Mike
Ooh,
Vick
no.
and Warren
No.
Moon and those
No.
guys, Dante Culpepper? Okay, I lied. Dante, I wouldn't consider Dante Culpepper a scrambling quarterback.
He was, but he wasn't that great.
Steve Young was a better scrambling quarterback than Dante Culpepper.
Yeah,
Culpepper
exactly.
had a cannon for an arm.
Exactly. So
he was
in
athletic
terms of
enough
winning
to
Super
get out,
Bowls,
yeah.
in terms of winning Super Bowls, these are the best scrambling quarterbacks. Doug Williams, Steve Young, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
And then you can throw, even though technically he was scrambling for his life. He was scrambling for his life his whole career.
Yeah.
Russell, you could say Russell, and then if you say
I put scrambling as part of his offensive weaponry. Like he used it to actually affect the game as opposed to, he happened to get out of the way and make it 15 yards down the field. Like Joe Burrow does. Like he happens to get out of the pocket and make it 15 yards. That's a Joe Burrow scramble.
yeah.
But like when you have like with Michael Vick in Atlanta,
He didn't have a line.
Seen something more amazing
He
than him winning games on his own.
Steve McNair. The reason why I say
Steve
Steve
McNair.
McNair was better was because not only could he scramble and make you look bad, but he also was very accurate.
Yeah.
Randall was another one
Cunningham was
that was
amazing.
that was, and people don't talk about him, and it's
didn't catch him
unfair.
until the end of his career, really, because he was when I started watching football. It was probably like 90. I would say when I could remember it, like 92, 93. I remember.
Yeah, I started watching like late, like
yeah.
where I was paying attention to it. Like my first game ever was the Super Bowl. Doug Williams, Washington against the Broncos.
Yeah.
That massacre. That was yeah.
Doug Williams
that was my first. That was my first where I really paid attention.
That was what 91.
No, it was earlier than that.
Was it?
Because I was in the 90s I was in Flint, Michigan, in foster homes, but in that Super Bowl I was living in Detroit. I was in elementary school in a foster home, and me and my foster dad were sitting there watching the game. and and that was I got to see a lot of Barry. Because of certain places, certain group homes I was in, I actually got to see some live games. So to me, Barry is the best. He's the best rushing quarterback the best rushing running back that you thought, oh, he's going to lose yardage. In terms of like losing yardage, he's the best running back. He's the most entertaining running back that you thought was going to lose yardage every time he touched the ball because his line was crap.
Detroit was not good.
Their offensive line, the Bengals talk about their line sucking. Ooh. Detroit was another one that their line like vacuum sucked.
Yeah.
And it was bad because they had some decent players that if their line had been like 60 to 80%, they could have seen more than one playoff win. And with the team that they had. But the biggest problem, and John Madden said it, he said in one of his books I have at home, your two most critical areas, your offensive line and your D line. Those are the top most important, because without those, you ain't doing much. And with that, because we have had so much fun talking football that we're gonna have to spend the last few minutes talking about the NCAA tournament. My Blue Devils blew it.
Yes, they did.
My Blue Devils, they blew it.
Yeah.
And contrary to what the pundits think, no, it wasn't. It didn't start at when Cooper Flagg got blocked out and got called for that over the back. That was a potentially questionable call because the guys were literally like pushing him away, and he just put one hand over.
Is it his fault that he's
over their arms?
Everybody else,
he put one arm over their arms. That was a questionable over the back play. Yeah. It actually started with Knipple and him doing that. He went to the hole. And he had a defender that was clearly like lengthwise. He shouldn't have shot the shot.
Yeah.
And he went to the rim, got there, hesitated. I'm guessing he was thinking that the refs were going to call a foul when he hesitated, and the defender bumped into him. And so he just tried to put it up, and the defender blocked it. And so I'm like, yeah, they lost. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, yeah, they lost. And then everything that happened after that, because they seemed to panic.
Yeah.
They seemed to panic, and like the inbounds play. Pass it to Knipple. I know he just had that shot block, and his decision making wasn't that great. But if you bounce past it to Knipple, you would have got in. They would have fouled him, and you still would have had a chance to win that game.
Yeah.
Houston played hard. They won on the boards. That's why they ended up, and they were relentless.
Yeah.
They were relentless all game, and they ended up remaining cool. No matter how many times Duke went up, they remained cool because they knew that Duke was going to hit a spot where they were going to take an ill-advised three-pointer and an ill-advised shot here, not making wise decisions, and they were going to be able to come back because they had guys that could shoot threes. In my head, when I was paying attention to because I watched the UCF game, and I knew of Houston already because I saw them a couple games during the season, and I'm like, what if it ends up UCF Houston in my head? But I knew, thinking that goes, but then my Devils are out, and I don't want my Devils out. It's like, but wouldn't that be just an interesting game because UCF is good in transition, their defense is good, and so is Houston. Houston can kill you with the transition, and their defense is good, and they're good with the three.
Yeah.
The UCF is spotty with the three. So that might give Houston the edge, but this is going to be defenses. This is going to be a defensive game. Tonight's going to be a really good game that I'm gonna try to check out. But hey, I did win a bracket.
There you go. See, I don't fill them out.
Shout out to, I actually didn't, even though my co-host gave me some brackets, I'm so busy, I actually didn't fill mine out this year.
I don't fill them out for that reason, because it never works.
But my UConn ladies came back out of nowhere, and because I don't just support the men. If I support a team. So I tell you, I'm down with UConn. Just know that's the men and the ladies basketball team, and they kind of came out of nowhere because everybody was paying attention to Notre Dame, South Carolina, LSU.
Notre Dame had a great
They
team this
did.
year.
I watched some games, and
Yeah.
they got some girls that got some street ball moves. I'm like, oh, okay,
Yes,
all
they did.
right, I see you.
They played
But
great.
at the end of the day, and I told the guy got his
He's still Gino up there, right?
yeah.
At the end of the day,
Oh,
you really you put him in the final, you put him in a championship game. Are you going to bet against him? Like, what's his numbers?
When I saw that score
90
though,
something percent.
because I had to go see my son, so I didn't really get to watch the game. I was hanging with him. He just recently moved to Indiana, so I'm hanging with him, and so today I saw the score, and I'm like, oh, that game wasn't close.
Right.
Okay, all right. Because I thought, okay, it's South Carolina. This is gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
And apparently it wasn't
It
as
was not.
interesting as I thought it was gonna be.
It was not an interesting
So,
game.
which
That's okay. It happens. I mean,
which-
it
which-
is what it is, man.
which somebody brought something up very interesting, and of course it kind of opened up the door to some potential race questions. But they were like, how come nobody was talking as much about Paige from UConn the way they talked about Kate? And it's like, Caitlin, no, whoa, wait a minute, I don't want to get her mixed up.
I can't remember her name. I don't follow it close enough to know off the top of their head. I know what you're talking about as far as the topic goes, but as the names, I just don't know enough on that front. I think a lot of it has to do with
Caitlin Clark. I did have her right.
Angel Reese.
It's like
Well, that was last year. Yeah. Or 2 years ago.
Caitlin Clark, and she's not getting as much hype, even though she was as good. Like, how come she didn't get as much talk? And it's like, look, the same reason that, as much as I hate to say it, the same reason that people are just now talking about John Stockton and Hornacek and Larry Bird and Chris Mullins. It's like, how are you just? But I grew up watching them,
Right.
so I knew. It's like don't be disrespecting the guys. And I get it, because I was one of those people. I was young, I was stupid, I was paying attention to the adults. I was.
Sure.
I was, but then the older I got and I started really looking, and I tell young people all the time, I'm like, dude, get on YouTube and look up the game. The people aren't being completely truthful about why it took Jordan so long to win. A lot of that was because of the Boston Celtics.
Detroit Pistons.
A lot of that was the Boston, but when Boston was dominating, it wasn't. It wasn't so much Detroit, because they were like iffy. The Bulls actually won some games each year.
Detroit was just mean.
Well, yeah, because
It just hurt you.
here's the amnesia that people get. Before they became the Motor City Bad Boys, they were the ones getting bullied.
Yep.
And then Isaiah got tired of it, and he looked at Bill Laimbeer, because Bill Laimbeer was like the main culprit.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, we're done with this.
Yeah.
You're going to step it up. We're going to step it up. We're going to start giving as good as we get. And then that's when all the bullies in New York and in Philly and in Boston. Because don't get me wrong,
Cleveland.
Bill had a good mouth to agitate you. But in terms of the fundamentals, I watched him get back down and get scored on every night. We considered him the missing link. A lot of people want to conveniently forget this. And it's like, okay, that's fine. You can forget it. I'm not. Yeah. I lived in Detroit. We all talked about it. Yeah. It's he was the weak link that we, and of course we blamed it on his skin color. Of course. And okay. it's like lame white boy. He the weak link.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then when they start playing people tougher and playing them, they go to the whole, okay, yeah, we gonna hit you and we gonna hit you and we gonna tackle you to the ground, and we
They didn't call foul.
fight. Yeah, it's
you
like
you had to be mugged or bleeding like before you got a foul in the NBA in the 90s, man. Like
I still say that whole thing that happened with Ben Wallace and
the Malice in the Palace.
and yeah, I still say that one wasn't as good as the one in Detroit and Philly, because I was sitting in Flint. No, I was sitting in Detroit in a child shelter, and we were all sitting there, and we were pissed off because they kept on the sound, so we heard the audio of what was going on, but they blacked out the screen.
Oh.
So you're sitting up there, they blacked out the TV, and we're hearing them, oh God, now the fans are starting to come out of the stands and attack the 76ers. And the people are trying to hurry up and get Charles Barkley and Rick Mahorn. They're trying to hurry up and get them out because the fans are coming out of the stands. I'm sorry. The Malice at the Palace has nothing on that one.
Yeah.
Just no. That one, the fans actually came out. Those fans, if Ron had come up and running after those fans were different. They were like, "Oh, you want to run in the state? Well, come on, big boy." And you know that particular guy, he was just drunk. He was doing something stupid, and he wasn't thinking. He was thinking, "Oh, he's a professional. He's not gonna come in the stands on me." And Ron,
met a professional athlete?
It was like Ron Artest showed him, like, obviously you're not paying attention to my level of crazy.
You don't know who I am.
Like, get over here.
You not heard an interview with me ever?
I still say that the one between like everyone after, including this recent one, will never top.
Yeah.
Will never top that one. Like, just because the fans, they were so hardcore. They said, damn, being arrested, we get off our boys.
Now there's a
last comment, and then we got to go.
What is your so the takeaway is the new players versus the old generation, like, and how much better the new players are, and how good and how many points they would score in the 90s.
They're better.
So like look at guys like, well, the two that I'm going to bring up are Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren, right? The guys that will get blown over in a stiff wind. Like they wouldn't make it in the early 2000s with Shaq, and there was no way they're making it in the 90s with Malone and Ewing and Barkley.
Gerald Wilkins and Kevin Willis.
Yeah, they're just not gonna make it. So where does the NBA go? Because their shooters are all aged out, and they're not getting. And the shooters they're bringing in aren't very good.
Here's the thing. Because of all these rule changes,
James.
Here's all these rule changes that are producing more offense. Yes, you're producing more offense, but you're also producing more cluster, because while these guys are supposedly in better shape, the guys back then that weren't in better shape were in good enough shape that even when they got hurt,
they still played.
It had to literally be broken for them not to be in the game.
Look at the most boring player that I've ever watched in my entire life, Tim Duncan. The most boring vanilla player I've ever seen play basketball in my entire life.
Bill Belichick would have loved him. Bill Belichick would have loved him because it's like, he cares. He just cares about the game.
There's no load management. There was no, I'm going to go crazy.
Actually,
as he got older, he did. He got load management because Popovich was a big fan.
But that was a legitimate reason. He wanted to keep those players,
35,
and they were suffering injuries that were keeping them off. So he came up with this as a way to make sure that he was able to keep them as long as they wanted to play, and it was also financially good for the team.
Right.
And then everybody saw what they were doing, and they went, "Oh well, I know our players aren't having injury issues, but they want to do what they're doing, so we're going to let them do it." And it's like, but it's not the same thing. They're doing it because they're injury prone, and they're trying to. And then they blamed Pop for it, but. This was fun.
Absolutely.
So you definitely got to come back.
I would definitely be happy to come back.
hopefully everybody enjoys it. Like, share, and subscribe for me. Tell your friends. As you can see, the new studio, first day here, we're going to work out all the kinks. It's going to be great. Dante Suave, this is my friend Andrew from 0 Hour. Check them out. They're super awesome. They're from Cincinnati. Shout out to 0 Hour also. And we're out.